Hey, comic book fans, welcome back to Comic Book Corner 2.0. And fans, you're back with me, Mike Spider Slayer, getting ready to do Countdown, episode number 91. That's right, fans. This week we have 16 comic books to talk about. We have 5 comics altogether with digital, and then the rest are physical copies. That's right, guys. So, in case you are unfamiliar with this show, this is the show where I count down my least favorite comic book of the week all the way up to number 1. So with that being said, everybody, let's get started with this week's countdown. Now, some of you might be surprised with my worst pick, but if you saw my in-depth review about this particular book, you understand why. And my number 16 book of the week was Mortal Kombat! Yes, issue number 1. I gave this book a 1 star, and as you can see, I don't have a book here that is in front of you because, yes, I performed a fatality on it. I did the old rip up tear routine. Haven't tore up a book in I think it was over a year, but for me, and a lot of gamers out there might be like, what are you, crazy? This was like the best book. This was awesome. But if you're not a hardcore fan of Mortal Kombat, I feel that you're not going to get what was going on here. That you're not going to get the realms, you're not going to get the clans, you're not going to get the characters. You know, they didn't introduce the characters in the right way. They kind of already, they inserted you in this universe thinking that you would know these people. It's not like where they did the promotion for Injustice and, okay, you know Superman, you know Wonder Woman, you know these characters. For the most part, everyone has an idea of who they are. But if you don't play games or you're not a heavy game player, you're not going to know who's, you know, Sub-Zero or Scorpion is. And you know, it was kind of weird because he's like, oh, am I a good guy or a bad guy? It's like you don't know. And I'm a casual fan of gaming. I've played games my whole life, but I want to say now I'm a casual gamer because I spend more time on video games and I play things every once in a while. But I found myself completely lost with this, and I was just like, what the hell am I reading? The only thing that was really good about this book was the artwork, and that I can give it. However, I feel for a lot of readers, this won't be a good book. And if you're a Mortal Kombat fan and you've played it and you're immersed into this universe, you might love it. But I hated it, and I will not be picking up issue number 2, and I gave that book a 1 out of 5. All right, so going forward now, we're going to go on to this week's first digital book. That was number 15 this week, and that book was Earth 2, World's End, otherwise known as Final Days. I again, this series is absolutely horrible. I don't even know why I'm reading it now because it's that bad for me. I think when I'm reading it, I'm kind of like, this is boring. I don't like it. It's like I don't even understand what was going on here half the time because I was so disinterested in it. This is a story that does not capture me whatsoever. The only thing that I learned out of this one was that you learn that these Furies are the last individual people of their races, and that's why they're the Furies. And also, you find out at the end of this book that Superman sacrifices himself, and yeah, he's kind of dead now. So that's the only thing that I got out of this. Were they supposed to make you cry? Were you supposed to be sad at the end of this? I don't know. There's no emotion for me at this particular book. It's just like reading almost the same thing over and over and over again. I cannot stand it. I don't like this issue. I don't like this series. That's why I'm reading it digitally. And I'm going to give this one also, I think I gave this one a 2 out of 5 stars. All right. Next, going forward, we're going to go on to number 14. And number 14 was, you guys might be surprised at this particular issue. And this issue was, if I can find it now because I messed up my books. Hold on one second, guys. I have last week's books in here also. And I meant to take one pile, not 2. Oh, give me 1 second. God dang it. Alright, here we go. So you might be surprised with this one. And it is Spider-Verse issue number 2. Now, I remember when I read the first Spider-Verse, I was surprised that we would see these different stories of the particular spiders that were going on, or Spider-Men that were in Spider-Verse. I thought it was going to tie into the main story, and it didn't whatsoever. This time around, I knew what I was expecting. I knew we were going to get different stories of these Spider-Men. However, I was thinking that these stories would be better. And I did not think that one of them would be completely done in Spanish. I don't understand Spanish. And I know it says in the book, well, if you want to read the whole story in English, you can download it. No, I don't want to freaking download that. That is ridiculous. You have to be kidding me. You want me to download something after I paid $5 for it? You want me to spend my time and download it? No, I want to read it in English. I bought it in the U.S. Nothing against all the Spanish people out there. I love you guys. I'm just saying, why? Why did we have to do that? I'm paying $5 for a book and there's a story completely in Spanish. You know, I don't know. Make the whole book available to Spanish readers with the downloadable code. I don't know. Just what? It just frustrated me. You know. The best page, the best part of the whole book was the first page, written by Dan Slott. He's playing, you got Spider-Man versus Morlun here, and he's doing battle against Morlun, and he loses. And Morlun gets a perfect score, and there's a little kid playing the Spider-Verse video game. And he's just like, what the fuck? You know, and so I like that part. But then the rest of the stories in here were just ridiculous. You got this, like, jungle Spider-Man, and he's running around, and you got Britain Spider-Man in there, and it's kind of like, okay. So, and that went on. Then you got the Anarchy Spider-Man, or the Spider-Punk, or whatever it was. And I thought that story would be good. I thought this was kind of, you know, a little inventive with the punk rock scene, the way the colors are. I thought that was kind of creative there. However, the story, I didn't like it. They threw in a whole bunch of Venoms in there, and he just plays his music, and he blows all the symbiotes up with his music. It was just okay. I was like, all right. I mean, that was the best story in the book, and then you got the story with the Spanish dialogue in there, and I was just like, okay, is this whole story in Spanish? And then they want you to read it in English when you have to download it. So I didn't agree with that whatsoever. You know. I just, again, I didn't like it. Oh, there was the other story with the black and white Spider-Man going with regular costume Spider-Man. I thought that was a fun story there. So I think the first story and the last story were the two best stories. Everything in between here, I didn't like and I didn't care for. I thought they would bring a little bit more interesting stories to these characters, and I just didn't find myself going, oh wow, this was really fun. You know, where you would expect this to be in this type of book, like the Edge of Spider-Verse issues were, where here it was just not there for me. And for $5, again, you expect something better than this. So after reading this one, I gave this one, and I gave it gracious 2.25 stars. All right, so moving forward, we're going to go on to number 13. And number 13 is the New 52 Futures End, issue number 37. This is kind of high compared to all the other books that I just showed you out here this week. And guys can probably thinking, wow, Mike, you're really dogging some books this week. And I am, because I feel with the money that you pay for these comic books, I feel that the quality has to be much better than what it's presented to some of these readers. Now, again, this is all my opinion. And, you know, I'm only one person out there. But for some of you that do follow me, you might agree with me that, yes, they need to present better product if they want to charge people this much money for their comic books. Okay? All right. With Future's End this time around, again, you got the stories that you care about and that you don't care about. For the past few issues, we're trying to find out what they're going to do with Frankenstein, if they're going to resurrect him, or if they're going to cure him because he's sick, he's dying, or whatnot. And you get to see a little bit of history about Amethyst and what happened to her world and her planet. And if you care about Amethyst, Okay, that's good. You get to learn a little bit more about the character. It's about time that we're 37 issues in, and now you're just starting to learn about Amethyst. So, so you start learning a little bit about her situation with Frankenstein and whatnot, and then you get to see the whole little battle erupt here that Yamakaze, or if that's how you say his name, is trying to draw in Firestorm. Excuse me, Firestorm, which Madison and Jason are trying to find a way to separate each other from each other, and they try doing the experiment, and it kind of fails. And then you get to see this other little situation that happens with 50 Sue in here, and she winds up getting touched by this particular character here. I forgot her name offhand because she's, again, a second-rate character, and I forgot who she was. But she touched 50 Sue, and it looks like you think that she's dead. I don't know if she's really dead or not, but we'll find out. And then actually at the end of this issue, you wind up coming across Tim here, who's hanging out here right outside his bar. His bar looks like it's been condemned. And yes, there has been an official relationship or official relations going on with Plastique and Terry McGinnis, as they were kind of hooking up on top of his building. But at that whole time, they were waiting for him. So yeah, I mean, Future's End is interesting at times, at certain points, in certain places. And at the end of the issue, you wind up getting the Joker, Brother's Eye, Batman freak going after them. So that's how that one ends. But again, there's interesting points in here. Here you got Mr. Terrific. He's getting ready to launch his U-Spheres, and it's about a few weeks out, and you got people waiting outside to purchase them. So I think when the whole launch happens with this U-Sphere thing, I think that's when Brother's Eye starts to take over the Earth. I kind of feel that in my opinion. But at least with this story, I feel like you can speculate a little bit on what is going to happen here. Whereas World's End, I can't do that with that. So I feel that this is a better out of those two when it comes to the weekly books. And I gave this one a 2.5 out of 5 stars. All right. Next, we're going to go on to number 12. Number 12 is Savage Dragon issue number 201. It should otherwise be called the Savage Dragon Porn Weekly. That's what's happened here with Savage Dragon. There's been Savage Dragon, which is Malcolm now. He's been hooking up with his girlfriend, his living girlfriend. That is fine. They're young. They're experimenting. It's like he's unleashed this this dog in heat type of thing. And but he also had a threesome with his living sister that he's known his whole life. It's kind of like a Barry Allen and Iris West thing. That's kind of how it is with Malcolm and his sister. They lived together a very long time, but Savage Dragon and his and Angel's mom is the one that, whatever. I don't know. But it's crazy. It's like there's a lot of crazy stuff going on. And I thought they would be beyond that. I thought it was just issue number 200. But no, it continues. We get to see, Savage Dragon and his nympho-like girlfriend always attacking him. She's sitting on his face, and there's just all kinds of weird stuff going on in here. It's just kind of insane. The main story has to do with these projects going on with Dart. She's the main villain in the particular issue, and they're doing some kind of, I guess it's some kind of cloning thing, if I remember correctly. And then here you got Angel, who went back to where she came from. She went back to Chicago, I think it was, to team up with this guy Daredevil, and she wound up having a relationship with him, and she found out that he's not cracked up with what she thought he was going to be. So she winds up going back home to go meet up with Malcolm Dragon, his girlfriend Maxine, and the next thing you wind up seeing by the time you get to the end of this issue, after Malcolm and Dart do this quick little battle with each other, is that you wind up seeing, yes, Malcolm Dragon's ex-girlfriend in the shower, and now it looks like there's going to be a foursome going on. Yeah, this book is crazy right now, man. this is just like reading a porn magazine. I never thought I would read something like this. Uh, I don't know what Eric Larson's thinking right now, but this is totally not the Savage Dragon that I've read in the past. It's crazy. It makes for an entertaining read, but how long is this going to go on for before it starts actually getting kind of old? You know, so I understand the kids. They're young. They're living on their own. They're experiencing freedom. They're going to do things that they've never done before. So I understand that aspect of it. But as a reader, it's kind of like, do you really want to read about that? So after reading it, I gave it a 3 out of 5 stars. I'm going to leave it up to you guys. All right. So next, we're going to go on to number 11, and number 11 is a digital book. So let me go out and get that book for you guys. This one will be Superman Wonder Woman issue number 15. Great cover here. Really love the cover. Love the artwork that's on the cover. However, I'm not a huge fan of like the facial expressions in here. Even though I think the artwork is different in this issue than the last one. But I found that this issue was okay. You get to find out who this guy was. His name was Wonder Star, and he winds up becoming, I think his name was Mogo or something odd like that. And you wind up finding the history behind him on how he was created, how he was just a little kid, and he blames that the superheroes, Superman and Wonder Woman, should have been the one to save him or his parents or whatnot, and he wanted revenge. So finally, after he's matured, he's come out of this body and he's become this crazy villain that looks like this. He's got these horns on his head and whatnot, and then you wind up getting to see this whole battle that's going on between Superman and Wonder Woman and this character here. I thought the book had good action, you know, kind of a standard type of Superman, Wonder Woman, uh, fights the villain of the week type of book, very generic like. And then it has your typical cliffhanger where they come across where they think you're going to save the day, that they're going to win. And then what happens is there's a whole bunch of other villains that winds up showing up at the end of the particular issue that's from Wonder Woman's past and that they have to do battle against. Again, average issue, good, had decent artwork, decent story, so nothing to scream about. So after reading this one, I gave this one a 3.25 out of 5 stars. All right, so next we're going to go on to number 10. And number 10 this week was another digital book. And that one goes on to, and this one is Amazing X-Men issue number 15. Now this one has to do with the once and future Juggernaut. So it's no more Marco who's the Juggernaut. We knew that Colossus used to be like he was the evil Juggernaut and whatnot, and he knows that the Crimson Ruby is now back on Earth, and he gets a vision of this, and he feels that he has to tell Storm what's going on in this with the Crimson Ruby being back. He sees that vision there, and he wakes up from his bed. Domino is his girlfriend at this particular point in time. And again, you get to see some light humor in this book, which was appreciated from Pixie and Rockslide and, you know, Scarlet Witch and Nightcrawler, just to break up kind of I guess the tension between Storm and Peter here, because he wants to go on this mission to find the Crimson Ruby to make sure it doesn't get in the wrong hands, and Storm wants nothing to do with it. She's kind of like, well, you know, you've been turned evil before. We've seen what's happened in the past. The only reason why you're back in this school is because of Logan's request. He told me to give you a second chance, but you're not going on this mission whatsoever. And you could see the facial expressions on her face. He was kind of like, she meant complete business here. So Colossus gets all pissed off. The other X-Men wind up going after this Ruby, and you see them going through and going to the temples or whatnot and exploring, and they come across this crazy demon-like creature, but you never see who is the actual new Juggernaut or whatnot, and it looks like that Colossus and Pixie are going to team up to also try to go after this Ruby. So I thought this book was good. I thought it was. I thought it was. Again, an average issue. I thought maybe it was a little bit better than Superman, Wonder Woman, probably just because I'm more of a Marvel fan aspect. But I'm interested in the whole Juggernaut thing. I was always a fan of Juggernaut. Just a stupid ass, big, huge guy that just would ram into buildings. There was something about him that always, drew me to him. I don't know if it was Spider-Man and his amazing friends or whatnot. But I like this. I like this issue. Same thing, just above average. Gave it a 3.25 stars. All right, so now we're going to go on to number 9. And number 9 this week was Miles Morales, the Ultimate Spider-Man, and this was issue number 9. So very fitting spot for this particular issue. This is part 2 of learning about Miles' father, which his name is Jefferson Davis, and how he was once supposedly, working for S.H.I.E.L.D. and Nick Fury, and you get to see the continuation here. You get to see Dave Marquez's artwork in a different style of going back to the past. This book is filled with a lot of two-page spreads going up and down. To take up a lot of page space. So I can see that this story arc here was really filler. Again, just to learn about the Kingpin's past, how the Kingpin rose to power, and how again, Jefferson wound up taking him down. And once he did, he wound up quitting S.H.I.E.L.D. and leaving the whole scene. And he always held it against, based off of that situation, never liked superheroes, never liked mutants, things like that. So based off of what everyone was about. Again, the artwork was different from what we're used to. It's hard to make out certain characters at times. Who is who? Very dark. Here you can see the guy with the tongue. That is Toad there, and we get to see everything that happens. So it was an interesting issue. It was an interesting story, but it's not the Ultimate Spider-Man that I've loved over the years. And hopefully it gets back on track next issue and gets back to Miles and what's happening. It's like we've seemed to be teasing the whole Hail Hydra thing for issues now when it comes to Katie Bishop and other things on there. And here's another one where it says Hail Hydra. So when is it going to have to deal with actual Hydra and again everybody else there? So again, after reading this one, I'm going to give this one a 3.5 out of 5 stars. All right. Next, now we're going to go on to number 8. Number 8 was Captain America, issue number 3. Captain America has also been a real good series for me. I thought the first 2 issues were phenomenal. This particular issue was kind of out there, a little different for me. This had Sin, was it Sin in here? Red Skull's daughter in here, and at the end of the issue, you wind up finding out that Nomad's throat got slit, and you wind up seeing that Sam Wilson gets tested here of being, I guess, being fit for the true Captain America. He winds up going to this, I think it's called the Infinite Elevator or whatnot, and him and Misty Knight wind up splitting ways. And he winds up going back like 70 years, and he winds up going going against the war and whatnot. And then he comes again against Red Skull's daughter, and it was pretty interesting to see what was going on in this particular issue. And yeah, it's Sin. And again, she feels that he's not worthy, and she's trying to psych him out or whatnot. I guess it was trying to delay him so they can launch this bomb to go after to destroy the human race with this Inhuman's power and whatnot. And then you get to see a little bit of the history of Falcon and whatnot. And it was a pretty good book. It was interesting to see all that history and to see Sin's actual motive. But in the end, Falcon has nothing to do with it. Let me just say the artwork in this book, though, is phenomenal. Again, this is was it Stuart Immonen, if that's how you say his name. He used to do all new X-Men, and now he's doing this, and his artwork is great for this series. And again, you get to see him possibly, what you think, might sacrifice himself because he's been psyched out, feels that he's not right for the job. But in the end, it was just a ploy, and we get to see Sin report to Hydra, and they're getting ready to launch that bomb. And then here comes good old Sam Wilson, and he winds up freaking taking out Sin right before this whole bomb thing goes up. And yep, it's to be continued in the next issue to see where all this goes. So not as good as the other issues because it was kind of like this shock value that happened in the last Captain America, and this whole plan was in place. I never thought Sin was going to be in this particular issue, but nevertheless, it was pretty good. I liked it, and I gave this one a 3 3/4 stars. All right. Next, we're going to go on to number 7. And number 7 this week was Daredevil, issue number 12. You get to see the conclusion to this whole stuntmaster thing on what was going on here. And we got to find out that the stuntmaster used other people to actually do these stunts, and people would sacrifice themselves or whatnot. They could possibly get killed, but this stuntmaster guy would never get killed, so that's why he would always do these death-defying stunts. And Daredevil would live because, of course, he's got all his great senses and whatnot. And when you're reading the book here, we find out that the guy that's been behind this whole thing is not the actual stunt driver himself, but it's the guy that was complaining the whole time. He's the one that was wanted to be in top. He wanted his names to be on the spotlight. He was the one that wanted to be famous because he lost all that, and he wanted to get all that all that glory and fame back in his life. So pretty interesting issue. The artwork is always consistent in this series. I really like it. And I love the paneling in here too. It's just really action-packed type of book. This for me was a filler story arc, but nevertheless, it was an entertaining read. Daredevil is always an entertaining read, and I think Mark Waid does a nice job writing Matt Murdock, and I got to give Daredevil issue number 12 a 3 3/4 stars. All right, next we're going to go to another digital book, and this is number 6 on the list, and number 6 is, that might have to give me a second to get this one up. Jupiter's Legacy, issue number 5, as this one is actually loading. Jupiter's Legacy is a series that I truly enjoy. However, it's plagued with delays because Mark Millar is the one that's actually writing it. So we know how he is with Kick-Ass. If you've read Kick-Ass and whatnot, it's always delayed. I feel like that we're only on issue 5 with this, and this book has been out for, I think I was talking about issue number 3 last year at this particular time. And here's the issue's cover. This is what it looks like. The artwork is very well done in here. You know, very simplistic art, but it's just well done. There's good detail when needed in the action scenes, and it was cool because we get to see the villain in this book, or whatever it is. He snuffs out these superheroes that are not registered or whatever it is. It kind of reminded me of Civil War. Now, I haven't read this series in a very long time, so I forgot a lot what was going on, and I think that this could have been higher on my list if I knew what was really going on in here. But we get to see the girl in here. She winds up saying, you know, he's asking her questions like, how come you haven't used electricity? And how come you haven't bought this or bought that? And she answers every question perfectly. But there's this one scene where he's changed the gas in the actual office, and she doesn't realize it, and all her fellow employees are passed out except her. So right away you see her jump out the window and try to escape. And she winds up becoming, she's this huge person. I think they called her Skyscraper or whatnot. And it was awesome. And she winds up being captured. And you get to see this issue. I was a young boy in here who he's trying to be, you know, that superhero. And then his mom comes and she says, you can't do this. Do you want to be captured? Do you want to be, you know, kind of like a slave or whatnot? And he was sending this message that, you know, they're in hiding. But as the issue winds up progressing, we wind up finding out that the boy is going to school and he had to go help somebody because someone was, you know, someone was in trouble and they were drowning or whatnot. And then off comes the bad guy getting ready to come and pick him up. And then the next thing you wind up seeing is you wind up seeing good old mom. She winds up coming and saving the day. And then the father comes and then he winds up coming and saving the day. There were some great action scenes in this issue. A lot of detail again when it came to the fight scenes. What I love about Jupiter's Legacy, and it sent just a good message that, or we're not going to hide anymore. We're going to be who we are, and that's basically how the issue ended here. And it had a good family dynamic. I really liked the tone of the book, and again, simplistic art, not a huge you know, huge complicated story, just gave a good message. And here it says end of book 1, so I guess that's the first volume. I don't know. I don't know what's going on with Jupiter's Legacy when it comes to being released or whatnot. I do know it is a good story, but that's why it falls down on my list a little bit here, right outside the top 5, because of the inconsistency of the release, and you might forget what's going on. So if you want to read this in trade. So Jupiter's Legacy number 5 gets a 4 out of 5 for me. All right, so now we're going to go on to the number 5. And number 5 goes to The Walking Dead, issue number 136. Now, Walking Dead this particular month is a really slow book. So for a lot of people, it might turn you off. But you can't count out The Walking Dead because the story that it provides for its readers, it's phenomenal. And in this particular issue, we wind up learning more about these Whisperer people because we find out that one of the Whisperers is this female that Jesus captured, and her name is Lydia. And what happens with Lydia is that she's in the jail cell and she winds up talking with Carl about how she lives with the Whisperers, how they act, and things like that. And I feel like in this issue that she's kind of manipulating Carl to try to get to feel sorry for her, and to possibly release her or to get him to like her. And then when the time comes, she's going to stab him in the back. So I feel that she's full of shit. So that's what I feel what's going on in that particular story. Also, you wind up seeing Sophia. She wakes up from her like coma or concussion or whatever that she was in, and Maggie winds up getting the true story of what happens between Carl and the other boys, and the story holds up. But at the same time, the other villagers or townspeople now have come to an agreement with Gregory, which was the former leader of the Hilltop, that they want to kill Maggie. And not only do they want to kill Maggie, they wanted to kill Carl as well. So there's definitely some interesting plot lines developing in The Walking Dead. And after Carl talking with Lydia some more, he winds up giving her his lucky hat, because he said that it's protected him after all these years from getting shot at Herschel's farm, from getting shot in the eye, and things like that. So I feel like now he really likes her, and I feel that she's a sneaky one, because her people, the Whisperers, are waiting outside, and they're kind of waiting for that perfect time to go in there. So again, no zombies, no blood, no gore in this issue, lots of story, and I know that turns people off at times, but if you guys know Robert Kirkman's writing, it's a good book, and I gave this one a 4 out of 5. All right, next we go on to number 4. Number 4 for me was S.H.I.E.L.D., issue number 2. The reason why I like S.H.I.E.L.D. so much this time around better was I like Humberto Ramos's artwork for this particular issue, because first of all, it's got Kamala in here, Miss Marvel. And if you know Miss Marvel, she's kind of like, she can distort her body, make her limbs go long, she can get really big. So I feel for Humberto Ramos's artwork in this particular issue. I felt that this was necessary for his artwork to be in here. And I know a lot of people are not a fan of his artwork. Also, Carmella being in here I love her personality, and she shines in the book. Now, this book's also Agent really shines on also Agent Simmons, and she's a actual pretending to be a substitute teacher in here, and they have to get these black market weapons that were inside school, and it consisted of like the wizard's glove, and it consisted of like the shocker's gauntlets, and things like that. And all of a sudden, it had to do with what's his name's like doe creatures or whatever it is. Not Zemo. I forgot the name who it is, but it's a Captain America guy. It's just right on the tip of my tongue. But they have to get these doe creatures, and what happens is the kids wind up eating it. It's in the pizza, and they wind up yakking it all up, and it winds up going all over the place. And it was so funny here. And the dialogue here between Agent Coulson and and Simmons and everything else was really good. Just to the fact being is that she was trying to prove him wrong of a certain device, of what it was or what it wasn't, and she wound up winning the debate. So I thought it was a very well written issue. I like the tone of this book. Kind of fits the season of S.H.I.E.L.D., like the TV show, where it's like they give you a villain of the week or an episode of the week. That's kind of what it feels like. One thing that drags this series down for me is I don't feel I know where it's actually going. If there's going to be in-depth stories here, or who the consistent artist is going to be, because we had two different artists on the book, or they're going to be rotating. I'm not sure. But this was a good book. I really enjoyed it for what it was this time around, and I will be reading this going forward. So after reading S.H.I.E.L.D. issue number 2, I give this one a 4.25 out of 5 stars. I enjoyed this book a lot. All right, next. Oh, and the one other thing I would love to see, I would have loved to see Carmela join a team like S.H.I.E.L.D. and fill that role where Skylar's missing. I think I would have loved to seen that there, because, right now, Carmela is like an independent, but she's not part of a team. So I kind of maybe would have liked to see her as a S.H.I.E.L.D. agent here or there. I would kind of like to see that. She gets a card at the end, and she says, "Oh, if you need anything or if it ever gets overwhelming, give me a call." So I thought that was pretty neat. All right, so going on now, we're going on to the top 3. Number 3 was Deadpool, issue number 40. Haven't read Deadpool in a long time, so I decided to give this a try since Access was over. Jump on board. I heard Jerry Duggan's writing it. He's writing Deadpool very well right now, and it was a great issue. Had to do with Roxxon being in this particular issue, and them doing the magic of cracking. So it's kind of just like destroying the earth, filling it with the wrong types of stuff, so they can make lots of money. They think that they can, they think that they're giving the earth good resources, but they're very bad resources, and they're killing the earth, which I thought was very funny. The good thing about this book too, it was colored like a like kids crayons, like some kids activity coloring book, and I thought that was really inventive and genius. I thought that was something that you don't normally see before. I think Deadpool is not written over the top in the issue. And I thought he was humorous where needed, and I loved how he was supposedly this spokesperson for Roxxon, and convincing the world that this is supposedly a good thing for the earth, when it was completely opposite. There was times too where Deadpool was actually doubting Roxxon when other people were kind of saying certain things, and Deadpool was like, "Well, how about windmill energy?" And the Roxxon guy's like, "Oh no, it cuts up the dolphins." Well, how about the solar panels? And he's like, "No, it fries birds." And he's like, "See, this is the best way." And it was just so funny how he was just trying to convince him that this Roxxon technology was so good. In between the middle of the book, you wind up getting a kids activity page. which I thought was so humorous in here. If you complete the maze, I don't know if you've tried, but I definitely haven't. Don't have the time, patience for that. But I thought this issue was really fun, and it really surprised me. I love how Jerry Duggan writes the character here. He writes them very fun. Jason Latour and Jason Aaron make an appearance in this issue for part of this movement to go against Roxxon, and Jason Aaron winds up, or is it Jason Latour? One of them, Jason Latour winds up getting snapped in half by the Roxxon agent here because he turns into this evil minotaur-like creature. I was like, damn, that's a little graphic, you know? And it's funny, too, because then once you turn the page, it says, due to graphic violence and obscene content, the scene has been omitted from publication. I was like, wow, that's really hysterical. And it's good. And Sarah Silverman makes an appearance in the issue. So, again, I love the humor that this book had to offer for its readers, different style of coloring in here. So, very inventive here. So after reading this book, I gave this one I think it was a 4.5 out of 5 stars. All right. So going on to number 2 this week, and number 2, let me get this one up, was another DC book, and this one had to go to, if I can find it here, yes. Had to go to Injustice, issue number 7. This book was really good. Now, unlike Mortal Kombat, this book had a good story in it, okay? We all knew that if you read the first Injustice issue from year 1, you found out that Superman wound up killing the Joker because he was behind the death of Lois and his unborn child. Well, in this issue, you find it's a what-if issue. What if Lois had lived, and what if they gave birth to their baby? What would have happened? So the issue winds up going into good detail of what was happening right before Lois's death. Superman winds up coming to in the issue, and he winds up saving Lois. The Joker doesn't get killed by Superman, but he winds up getting his neck snapped in half here, or winds up getting snapped by Batman. And Batman just couldn't take the Joker anymore. So Batman takes the heat. He winds up going in prison for a couple years. And Superman was very grateful for what Batman actually did for him. He winds up breaking through the jail cell here and gives Bruce a hug. And I thought that was a very, just an awesome moment in this comic book. And you also get to see, you know, Lara, which is Clark's daughter, grow up before your eyes. You get to see her say her first word, you know, and you get to see her use her heat vision for the first time. You get to see her do flight for the first time. So you get to see the daughter, and you get to see Clark and Lois get older. You get to see the Justice League get older. We get to see what she looks like when she's a young teenager. And then you end up getting to see her, you know, making movement within the earth. And, you know, the book ends with basically Lois and Clark wind up holding hands and just saying, you know, the days are getting shorter, but we can enjoy every single day that we have. And I thought that was a great ending to this particular comic, and just a great alternate ending in the universe as well. So as a Superman fan, you got to really appreciate what was here for you, because it was like, you got that Lois and Clark ending. Oh, you get what happens if they have a baby. Not even just in the Injustice world, but just as a Superman fan, you're just going to really enjoy that. So I love that element in this particular book, and I was just like, wow, I didn't expect this to be that good. But that's why I wanted to read it to begin with. And you don't even have to read what's going on in Injustice right now to understand what was happening here. The only one I can say you may have had to read was Injustice Year 1, Issue 1, and then you would have gotten what was going on. So great book. I really enjoyed it. Real close to being my number 1 pick of the week. This got 4.75 stars out of 5. And now we're going to go on to that number 1 book of the week. And guys, you probably already, you know, predict what that number 1 book is. And the number 1 book of the week for me has to go to, yes, Star Wars issue number 1. Now, if you guys haven't seen it, I did an in-depth review over on my group channel, Comic Frontline, for it. And this book was done in all the right ways, man. I thought that Jason Aaron just did a phenomenal job with this book. It just everything about it. Yes, was it $4.99 book? Yeah, absolutely. But was this one of those books that was, worth every penny? Yeah, absolutely. I thought this is one of those few that if you're a fan, you're going to want to pay for this because the artwork in this book was absolutely phenomenal. Everything about it. And the artwork was done by John Cassidy. I was looking for the first name of Mr. Cassidy's, but even in the back of the book where they show you these classic scenes from Star Wars, right here, I was thought that was really nice. Even at the end, you wind up seeing this particular page here for Darth Vader. I thought that was really well there, where he's meeting up with Jabba the Hutt. Just a little advertisements for those future stories to come. But this overall story right away sets a great tone. If you're a Star Wars fan, just going a long time ago in a galaxy far, far away, and boom, right there, you see that. And what does that play for you in a Star Wars universe? It plays the music, and you're just like right away you have that movie in your head. And it starts off just like a typical movie would, with the spaceship going to a planet. And the words, and it was just like, wow, they're really hitting this in all cylinders. And it was interesting to see how they were gonna, follow up off of Dark Horse's whole long-term run that they had going on. But the story here it sets the tone right from the beginning, right after the Death Star's destruction, like a couple of days after, or whatever it is. So the rebels want to hit the Empire really hard, and they go to this weapons supply station that's on Tatooine, and we wind up getting to see Han Solo, and you get to see his bodyguards there, which consists of Luke and Leia, and you wind up meeting them up here with the tradesperson, because they're getting ready to do some trades, and supposedly they work for Jabba. And they had to talk to this negotiator, and while the whole time they took a tour of the weapon supply place, and Han Solo was so in character in this particular issue, right off of the movies. Even his character expressions look just like the movies, and you're like, wow, that's really, really good. And you wind up finding out that the negotiator was Darth Vader himself, and when they found out that it was Darth Vader, you wind up seeing that Chewie was going to pick him off and assassinate him, and that's what they were trying here. But when you saw Darth Vader make his appearance in this book right from that first issue, you're like, wow, man, they're hitting it in all cylinders. Every which way, shape, or form. They had something that had to do with Star Wars in here, where it was an Imperial Walker, where it was Luke Skywalker cutting off a limb, where it was this wasn't the droids you were looking for. It was there, right, for every Star Wars fan to enjoy. And it was such a great issue. And it winds up ending off with which looks like a confrontation with Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader. And you're just like, really? Right off the bat? But Obi-Wan Kenobi's instructing him to run. So I love this book. I love the tone of it. If you're a Star Wars fan, you're going to enjoy this immensely. A phenomenal read. If you're not a Star Wars fan, you've been living under a rock your whole life, you might feel lost. You're not going to know who the Imperials are. You're not going to know who the Rebels are. But I don't think, again, this book was really made for that. Pretty much most of the world knows what Star Wars is, and kind of has seen the first three movies, episodes 4, 5, and 6. You don't need to watch episodes 1, 2, and 3 to understand what's going on here. 4, 5, and 6, you'll get who Luke, Leia, Han, C-3PO, and Chewbacca all are. That's all you need to know. And then you can follow this comic book with ease, because you'll know the characters and you'll know their personalities. But this book was awesome, and I gave this one a 5 out of 5. Definitely book of the week, in my opinion here. So, guys, you've seen it. You've seen the worst. You've seen the best. You saw all that other crap in between. So, guys, leave me your comments on what your favorite book was of the week. What your least favorite book of the week was. And fans, as always, thank you for watching Comic Book Corner 2.0. If you want to see more of my reviews, you can check out Comic Frontline and check out comicfrontline.com. So fans, again, until that next comic book review, this is Mike Spider Slayer signing off. Thanks for watching, fans. See you soon. Bye.